Thank you so much, Anka sir. Gauravi, over to you to start the student panel and use the disclaimer. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Anish.
Dr. Swati, and thank you, Mr. Anish. That was a wonderful presentation, and I'm pretty sure everyone would have gained immense knowledge and ideas from it. So it has been a great start to the day, day 2 of World Pharma Brand Managers Day 23. But before we move forward, let me share a disclaimer with you all. Yeah. So all the opinions, views, feedbacks, data, images, videos, interviews, or any other material shown during this event is purely for the learning and academic purpose of the subject Pharma Brand Management. None of the views or opinions expressed by the speakers in live mode or as recordings are to be considered as an endorsement of any brand either. This event is a non-commercial, purely academic event, and the content, recording, or any part of this event cannot be used for any commercial purposes. Thank you. Moving on forward, before we begin with the student panel and the discussions related to e-pharmacies, I would like to present a survey that was conducted by Pharma State Academy to understand consumer behavior towards e-pharmacies. I'll share the screen in a moment. So here we have the World Pharma Brand Managers Day Patient Survey Analysis. We at Pharma State Academy conducted a pre-World Pharma Brand Managers Day survey on the acceptance and usability of e-pharmacy in India. And here is an analysis of the survey and the insights that we derived. The survey was circulated and 165 participants participated in it. It was from Pan India, and the rural and as well as urban demographics were involved. So the age group of participants, here we can observe that maximum participants were in the age group 21 to 30 years, and the average age was found to be 36 years. We put up a question where we asked the consumers about their preference of medicine purchase. And as we can observe that nearly 53.3% people still use offline or nearby pharmacies. The usage of online pharmacies are very less, that is 5.5%. And some of these people, approximately 42% people, use both the online and offline pharmacies. On an average, the customer buying tendency towards the online pharmacy is 32%. Next, we asked the consumer that which platforms they prefer while buying medicines online. The maximum number of people responded with Tata 1mg. That is approx 40% of the responses, and others included PharmEasy, NetMeds, Apollo 24/7, Amazon, Flipkart, and some other platforms as well. This was a multiple choice question, so the consumers had to select one or more options that they generally use. Next, we asked them a question about why do they prefer nearby pharmacies. The most important insight that came out was they prefer nearby pharmacies because it is nearby to them, and it delivers their medicines faster. Approximately 58.2% people responded with that option. 57% people said that because of the trust, the long-term association, quality, returns, and credits, they prefer nearby pharmacies. 37% people said that they can purchase the number of capsules and tablets as per their requirement, which is not really possible in online pharmacies. Approx 34% people said that the discounts and membership attract them to purchase medicines from nearby pharmacies. And approx 16% people said that it's a habit for them. Moving on. Why are the consumers opting for e-pharmacies? The ones who responded that they are opting for e-pharmacies, we asked them this question, and 52% of people said that they get better discounts and offers. 42% people said that there is a convenience of home delivery. 30.9% people said that I think this is a very important insight that we have obtained. E-pharmacies can be used to order for anyone and deliver anywhere pan-India. The next point is they get a wider choice, availability, as well as substitutes online, as well as assured quality. Thank you so much for going through the survey results with me. Now that the stage is set, please allow me to introduce you to our student panel. First up, we have Smith Bhavsar. He's Bachelor of Pharmacy, fourth year student at NMIMS, SPPS, PTM, Mumbai. Next up, we have Trishank Gupta, MBA Pharmaceutical Management student, second year in Jamia Hamdard. Next, we have Vaishnavi Gari, MBA Pharm Tech, dual degree course, fourth year at SPP SPTM NMIMS Mumbai. Pankuri Kapoor, MBA Pharma Tech, dual degree course, fourth year at SPP SPTM NMIMS. And Karuna Sathe, MBA Pharm Tech, dual degree course, fourth year at SPP SPTM NMIMS. Along with them, last but not the least, we have Shashank Shekhar, fifth year, Doctor of Pharmacy, Pharm D, from Pune College of Pharmacy, Pune. Thank you, all of you, for joining us here today. And they will be talking about e-commerce initiatives in pharma retailing, a step towards the benefits of patients. So without further ado, let me ask my first question for the day to Smith. Smith, can you share with our audience a brief about the emergence of e-pharmacy and its current scenario, including how it influences today's pharmaceutical market?
Definitely. I will do that, Gauri. Thank you so much for the question. And in the meantime, I'll just take 2 seconds to present my PPT in front of you all. Okay, thank you so much, Gauri, for the introduction, and a very good morning to all the respected dignitaries out here. A big thanks to the team at Pharma State Academy for trusting me with this opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to make the best out of it and share my valuable insights with you all. So without further ado, before we actually get in the presentation, I would like to introduce the pharmaceutical industry to you all with the help of some numbers. The Indian pharmaceutical industry right now is placed third when it comes to volume and on the 13th position when it comes to value. And the domestic market of the pharmaceutical industry is valued around $42 billion, and it is growing at a good pace. Moving on to understand the reason behind the rise of e-commerce, e-pharmacy, what we call it. The simple reasons why the advent of e-pharmacy took place is, to start with, first, low margins. Now, when I talk about low margins, the various stakeholders at the value chain, they were facing difficulties in getting a good share of the margin. There was always a price pressure between all the companies when it comes to the generic market, especially. We were seeing problems with regulation, documentation, compliances. And with that, the biggest problem which was faced at a distributor level and a retailer level was handling the inventory and having multiple SKUs, which is easy in a central warehouse system, which is mostly followed by the e-pharmacy company. But when it comes about being a retailer or a distributor, managing inventory, handling a large inventory it becomes more difficult. So that is the reason people wanted a tech-based solution to increase the efficiency of the entire value chain, get medicines delivered at the comfort of your houses, get some discounts on it. And eventually, we have also seen a rise in the chronic diseases, which has led people to buy medicines frequently, because of which they want a consistent platform. Without taking a lot of efforts, they can reorder the same medicines from one single platform. Talking about the market drivers which have boosted the growth of e-commerce or e-pharmacy in India, the first one, as you can see in front of your screen, is favorable government policies and regulation. The DCGI approval body has put on a lot of regulatory guidance and is basically promoting and boosting the procedure of giving licenses to the e-pharma companies, it's making it easier for them. We have the Digital India campaign, which is run by Government of India, again boosting digital infrastructure and penetration of e-pharmacies. The second point is rise in internet penetration. So as of now in India, around 45 to 55% of the population is already using internet, and the number has somewhere from 50 million, it has come down, it is increased to 624 million in a span of 5 years. So we have a huge population with internet base. The third one is increase in spending power and disposable income. So on an annual rate, our disposable income of every Indian citizen has increased by 16%, because of which they have the liberty to spend their money on not only the chronic diseases, but also to gain nutritional values. For example, now people, the fourth point, which says that people are aware about good nutritional values. People know what has to be done in order to stay healthy. Let that be in the form of multivitamins, other supplements, calcium supplements, but people are aware and they target to be a healthy individual and spend money on good health rather than spending it later on doctors. So that is a trend which is being seen. And the fifth point is high adoption rate towards digitalized solutions. So since the COVID pandemic, we have seen the UPI system, the fintech, bank systems, everything is getting integrated on one platform, and people are adopting to these technologies at a very high rate. So all in all these market driver and all these points have ensured that we see a great growth of e-pharmacy in India and in other developing nations as well. And on the right-hand side, if you can see, this is the market share of these various companies in India at the moment. MedLife is leading this market share, followed by PharmEasy, then 1mg, NetMeds, and other companies are constituting the 10.5%. And a lot of funding is also being received around, I think MedLife has already raised $100 million in its last round. So a lot of investors, international support is being favored to these companies to expand their horizons and penetrate the tier 2, tier 3 cities, rural India, and further expansion. Moving on to the next slide. Just give me a second. All right, talking about the unit economics. So I've considered this one example wherein I'm understanding that the revenue earned by the sale of one product is 100. Now, usually for any pharmacy company, the gross margins are set to be around 30%. So I've kept 30 units aside, out of which the 70, which is left, from there, I'm reducing 15 units under warehousing and delivery cost. And I'm sure with time, when we have further more hub and spoke models, we have more central warehouses, we have more infrastructure which is supporting these companies, the 15 units is going to come down to 6 to 7 units, and that will again impact their gross margins, that will increase. Then the 25 units right now, these companies are spending high on acquiring customers. And even though the return on ad spend is low, but they are still promoting, they want people to get accustomed to the technology. So they're offering high discount. They're using various publicity stunts to, get the first good hand of the customer base and increase the market share in the entire Indian domestic market. And the remaining 5 units are being spent over overheads, basically IT expenses, salaries, and other related expenses. That would include your transportation, your rent, your inventory management, tools and optimization. And at the end of this entire deduction and the entire unit economics, what these companies are left with is around 20 to 25 units, which can be termed as their profit, which is actually less to be reinvested and expand. That's the reason these guys are also dependent on fundings. But eventually, with time, with more efficiency, I'm sure the margins and the cost of each and every stage of transaction will reduce, and the end beneficiaries would be customers like us. Moving on to the next slide. Now, this is something which is very exciting, and I am super happy to share this with you all, that the new normal, which is being tested by a lot of pharmacy companies, is around these 3 things. The first one being blockchain. Now, we all know blockchain as a technology is evolving. There are a lot of setbacks which are being spoken about for this technology. But all in all, as we know, blockchain technology, you are storing a set of information in various blocks which are distributed across a lot of computer systems, and each computer system is holding one part of the information. So if this actually gets adopted in the pharmacy sector, for which a lot of R&D is happening right now, we will see three prominent effects. The first one being about data integrity. Right now, there are a lot of problems with prescription, with fake prescriptions, with people using Schedule X drug, and there is no record of that. We don't even have a concrete system to record the ADR, that adverse drug reactions which happen. So all these setbacks can be withdrawn from the market if we come to the blockchain technology. Data will remain secure. We will see that the misuse of drugs, the cases which comes of people using Schedule X drug without prescription, and sometimes it happens because India is a large geography to cover. So this is very common. So misuse of drugs will reduce. We will see that each stage of distribution channel of the entire value chain, the accountability, optimization will also increase. For example, right now the biggest problem is to track the shelf life of a drug. So we have the barcode technology to do that, but with blockchain, the entire process will become highly transparent. We also have the drone delivery system, and the states like Meghalaya have already adopted this system. So we are moving towards last mile delivery. It's not to your doorstep, it's to your window right now. And we'll eventually see decrease in lead time, super fast deliveries, geographical arbitrage. Like India as a whole has geographical diversity. We have mountains, we have riverbeds, we have oceans, we have everything, which makes it difficult for companies to deliver it to your doorstep. So drones are definitely going to help and boost this. And also we have AI and IoT, the Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. With the help of this technology, we'll be able to forecast the demands of medicines much before the occurrence of the disease is prevalent. We have seen that in COVID. So AI is the tool, AI is the future. People say that it can be implemented here. Supply chain disruptions, data utilization. So whatever data you have, you can use that in order to enhance your supply chain. And moving on to the industry trends, just give me a second. There's a bit of lag on my screen. All right. So moving on to the industry trends, we have seen that the revenue of these e-commerce companies have increased drastically. So the market share, which was in 2019 around 1.5% of the total industry, has increased to 5%. And they're sharing around $2,100 million of the entire revenue. And the growth of revenue is at a great CAGR. It's almost at 54%. And they've already captured 5% of the revenue share in the entire pharmaceutical industry. And as you can see, the exposure of these e-pharmacy companies have put them down in number of cities. So that is also increasing. Now, the main preliminary target of these companies is not only to deliver medicines, but also to provide hand-on solutions for other brackets, which might include one-on-one consulting with doctors, and buying insurances. So they are basically, what they are doing is they're evolving their revenue chains. They're increasing the sources of revenue, along with that providing good services to customers. And at the end, we have penetration into tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So these guys are highly motivated to enter the rural India and leave a mark there. And with that, I genuinely hope that this presentation has delivered some value. I'll be open to questions at the end of the entire panel discussion. And I hope I've delivered what I was supposed to. And thank you so much for listening to me so patiently. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Over to you, Gauri. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Smith, for that wonderful all-round introduction and additionally talking about the new normal. Okay, so we'll move on to the next panel member. We have Trishank. Trishank, my question for you is, can you tell our audience about the significance of e-commerce in the evolution of pharma retailing?
Yeah, thank you, Gauri, for the question. I will be taking you through that. Yeah, okay. A very good morning to one and all present here. So I will be taking you through the role of e-commerce in the evolution of pharma retailing. Although e-commerce is itself a revolution for many industries and a lot need to be done in our pharma sector. So e-commerce in general terms is the purchasing, selling and exchange of goods or services over computer networks. So we can say that e-commerce offers a virtual marketplace for the sellers and the consumers. The second thing that it offers is timely access to information. In our case, it is medical information. The service providers educate their users about the latest updates, innovations, features, developments, etc. with the help of their platform on web. All these information is easily accessible at the comfort of the user. The third is shrinking geographical locations, making the distance factor negligible or irrelevant with optimized logistics. We recently witnessed the testing of home delivery via drones in remote locations or the harsh areas. The fourth is collection, storage, and access to data. So, with the use of e-commerce portals, the service providers obtain a lot of data from the users, be it demographic, geographic, medical, etc., which can be used for providing personalized services to the consumer, bringing in the concept of patient centricity. I will come to this in a while. So, this is simply what e-commerce offers in a broader perspective. Now, coming to the timeline, this concept is not new to the world. It's been 28 years since the emergence of companies like Amazon and eBay in 1995. And in pharmacy, it was 1999 when Soma.com became the first pharmacy to operate online. But in India, this evolution came in year 2015 with the companies like Pharmacy, 1mg, NetMed. All of these were founded in the same year. So you can see how late India adopted this concept. There are different reasons for that, though. Now, even when it started in India, users were reluctant towards the new approach, which created a lot of challenges. Now, let's see how e-commerce made space for itself in the pharma industry. See, pharma is an industry of innovation, which involves a lot of research and development work. And technology involved are of two types. One is hard tech, and the other is soft. With hard tech, I mean machines and equipment, and with soft, I mean the internet and software. So the hard technology is involved in the innovation process. But when the soft technology is used to make most out of the innovation and generates revenue, collectively, this is electronic commerce for pharma. Now, if we look at the number of users of e-pharmacy worldwide, they were 1139 million in 2019, which grew to 1506 million in 2022. So you can clearly see the difference. And with this, it is evident that COVID also played an important role in the rise of e-commerce. When people were not allowed to go out or they were suffering, they found it easier to use e-pharmacy and get their medicines delivered to home. This not only helped public, but also the government in the management of healthcare services during the tough times. In the short history of e-commerce in pharma, it played significant role in the evolution of pharma retailing. Let's see how. It provided e-marketplace for the retailers to carry out not only B2C transactions, but also B2B and B2B2C. We all know there is direct involvement of the end user in the e-pharmacy. But there are also few platforms where pharmaceutical companies and stockists can sell medicines in bulk. Then there are agencies of the existing e-pharmacy stores which are physically present, or the physical stores that can take orders online from their platforms. This is B2B2C model. Currently, Pharmacy is doing this. Apart from this, SME players in the pharmaceutical industry are largely unorganized in nature. This concept of e-com helps them to reach out to the market and get business opportunities from different states of India. Even abroad, they can get opportunities. E-commerce brings standardization of processes, documents, and regulatory issues for online payment of prescriptions. With every action monitored and recorded, it makes the process standardized from the delivery chain to the end users. Next is, e-commerce provides a single and specific space for pharma SMEs to rest of the world, keeping the industry organized and reducing costs by avoiding others to interfere. The data-driven approach for patient centricity. This is the point. So the generation of EMRs and the tech-based collection and storage of data, which can be used lifelong. Yesterday, Alhad sir discussed about patient adherence and the role of AI and data in it. These things bring patient adherence, not only patient adherence, they help to understand the buying behavior and persona of the patient so that companies can provide customized and personalized services to the patient. Next is influence and support of government. The Department of Pharmaceuticals formulated the DPP, the Draft Pharmaceutical Policy, in 2017, wherein it has recommended that e-pharmacies should be encouraged in the interest of the consumer. So it is very important to have the support of authorities to scale the advancement for the benefit of the public. Sixth point is integrated digital pharmaceutical distribution platform. We all know about the e-pharmacy retail stores where consumers can directly purchase medicines. They're quite popular though. But there are also online platforms for retailers and distributors which facilitate the supply chain. Let's see what it is. You might have heard about ShipRocket. It is a logistic support platform. And then there are companies like Amazon and Flipkart who have their own logistics, Amazon Shipping and eCart, right? Similarly, in pharma industry, there are companies that have set up an integrated platform for both the distributors and the retailers, creating a bridge between the pharma companies, stockists, to the retailers. For example, Savio, Pharmarack, and Vizarma. They are the e-commerce platforms, or we can say marketplace, where companies, stockists, retailers, all are present, and they need not to worry about the inventory management, logistics, and billing. With Vizarma, even hospitals can place and track orders. It is so personalized that companies and hospitals can have real-time access to the data of the products available at the CFA. With Pharmarack and Savio, retailers can connect with their existing distributors or they can find new distributors. They can order stock and manage inventory easily. Retailers have given testimony that they receive the delivery of the stock within 3 hours. And even if they place the order at night, they receive the order next morning. So not only retailing is getting benefited, but also the other counterparts of the supply chain. So this is the impact of e-commerce on pharma industry as a whole, and it will be interesting to see how it goes in the future. So I hope you got my point of view on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prashant. That was a wonderful presentation. And moving on, my next question is for Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi, can you please tell us what merits of e-pharmacies are we able to observe these days over the conventional pharmacies and their importance in the customer journey?
Absolutely, I'll do that. Thank you so much for your question, Gauri. I'll just begin shortly. All right, so a very good afternoon to everyone present here today. As I speak about the merits of e-pharmacies, I'd like to talk about how the online pharmacies add value to the customers. Let's go by all the steps involved. Next slide. Number one, as I've mentioned here, is the accessibility and the availability. So e-pharmacies can offer a wide range of SKUs to their customers by aggregating supply. Such scale is actually difficult to achieve for local pharmacies because it's not possible to aggregate supply for them. And e-pharmacies have been able to reach tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well. The key factors that were responsible for the increase is because of the increase in internet penetration, a surge in the number of smartphone users, innovations in the digital payment infrastructure, and the increased adoption of online shopping among tier 2 and tier 3 city individuals. And during COVID, we saw how these pharmacies had all the medications available while the local pharmacies ran out of stock. And so at such a crucial time, it proved to be beneficial to the customers because of a health emergency. Number two is the convenience aspect of it. E-pharmacies have their own websites and mobile applications, as all of you all are aware of. You can place the order within minutes and you can get your prescription drugs conveniently. All you need to do is upload the valid prescription using the mobile app or website. And there's no need to actually go and visit the pharmacy store and wait in long queues. The medications get delivered on time at your doorstep, and the customers who actually regularly require medications would understand the value and the ability of medicines to be delivered to the doorstep. Additionally, if you choose an online pharmacy to refill your regular prescription, your whole prescription log is automatically maintained in the database, and there's no need to re-enter the information, which again serves as the convenience aspect of it. All you need to know is a basic knowledge of a computer or a smartphone, and you can easily shop from an online pharmacy and save your energy and time. Number 3 is the affordability. E-pharmacies can store the products can source the products directly from the manufacturers, and therefore they have the capability to offer more significant discounts than local pharmacies. And therefore, to attract buyers, the online pharmacies offer special discounts on medications. So anyone can avail the discounted coupons on regular purchases of medications. Moreover, it is also clear as we buy medicines more and more from e-pharmacies that when you become a regular customer, you can buy medicines at low rates in the future, and you can also utilize their membership schemes for this. Number 4, as I've mentioned here, is the information and education. So e-pharmacies provide knowledge to the customers, and that helps them to make informed decisions for themselves. Most online pharmacies, they share useful and valid, accurate information about medicines and illnesses on their mobile apps and websites. Detailed information about the use of a particular medicine, its side effects, its drug interactions, its consumption patterns, what recommendations are given, whether it is to be taken before meals, after meals, on an empty stomach, and so on, are clearly mentioned there. You also have access to expert guidance. One of the best advantages, what I feel, of an online medical store is that you get a chance to talk with a professional pharmacist to clear any of your doubts and queries without leaving your home. Number 5 is the compliance and authenticity aspect of it. So the authenticity of drugs can be assured because e-pharmacies store all their records digitally, which effectively reduces the risk of having any counterfeit medicines. It serves as a secure system overall. So when you purchase your medicines online, you don't have to worry about any credit card information that you have stored in it. All the reputed companies, like we have Tata 1mg, Apollo, NetMeds, they all follow regulations and they ensure that you're secure and that your payments are stored in a secure and safe manner, and there's no data leakage. Another point I would like to mention is that the best thing to consider about online pharmacy is the customer care aspect of it. The customers can avail 24/7 services from the online pharmacies. If you have any query, any doubt, their customer care representatives are always there to help you any time of the day, any day of the week, via a call or an email. And another thing which all of us might have noticed is that e-pharmacies provide a value-added service, which is e-consultation, e-diagnostic services, and health insurance services, which are not there for local pharmacies. Moving on to the next slide. So from the previous points, we can understand that the merits of e-pharmacies, they promote a positive customer journey. As you can see on the right, I have added screenshots from 1mg's mobile app. So here we take example of this drug called calcium polystyrene sulfonate powder, which is used for the reduction in high blood potassium levels in patients with hyperkalemia, which is associated with chronic kidney disease. So this product comes in a 15-gram sachet that is to be consumed one sachet at a time. And the price is rather high. It's about 160 rupees per sachet, and the recommended dose to hyperkalemia patients is usually 3 sachets per day. So this makes the process very expensive to the patient. But if you consider an e-pharmacy there, the discounted price offered is lower. That is, it's 135 rupees per sachet. Additionally, they have provided certain cashback offers, redeemable points on the next order, and credit card offers, which make it affordable to the patient. Not just this, as you can see on the extreme right, the app shows some alternate SKUs having the same composition with their prices. So the consumer can take informed decision and opt for these SKUs without any extensive research on the internet. These e-pharmacies clearly state that all such information and recommendations is purely for information purpose, and the patient must consult his doctor before taking any of such medications. Thus, this way the patient is provided with useful information, and it is up to his discretion if he wants to switch to any less costly product or not. The table on the left gives us an overview of what we already discussed. So the price factor serves as one of the most substantial merit of e-pharmacies because of its extensive offers. Whereas local pharmacies, they either sell it at MRP, or if they have a long bond or a trust with you, if you're a regular customer, then they might offer you 5 to 10% discount in some cases. Then the safety and the security aspect of e-pharmacies is slightly higher than local pharmacies because every prescription that is uploaded on the website or app is reviewed by a licensed pharmacist before the order is accepted. And before the order is accepted by the company, the pharmacist from there would call the patient or the caregiver to reconfirm and ensure that the right medication has been ordered ordered, and there's no scope of error even in the prescription. The ordering process is also much convenient this way. All in all, I'd like to conclude by saying that e-pharmacies have developed as a potential sector due to the significant shift in purchasing behavior, and it's definitely going to be the future of pharma retail. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for the wonderful presentation. And moving on, next question would be for Pankuri. As we all know that there are always two sides to a coin. As much as it is advantageous to use e-pharmacies, there are also some demerits to it. So Pankuri, I would like to direct this question to you. Can you share with us what you think are the disadvantages of e-pharmacies?
Sure, Gaurav, thank you so much for your question. So a very good afternoon, everyone, and I'm indeed very grateful to be a part of this student panel. So Gaurav, if you can present the slide on behalf of me. Yeah, so thank you so much. So moving on straight to the answer to the question, if you can move to the next slide. So the very first limitation is software design issues. Now, the designing features of e-prescribing software may increase the likelihood of the errors. Drop-down menus, poor screen design, and automatic filling functions have been identified as potential sources of errors and consequently as threats to the patient safety. Additionally, these design features may contribute to workflow challenges as they dictate manual entry and editing of prescriptions and potentially follow up with the providers to resolve gaps, errors, or lack of clarity. Now, the next one is lack of physical evaluation in place. Now, since the internet makes it so easy to sidestep the safety net, these online stores do not have any processes of medical supervision or physical evaluation in place. If at all there is any such process, they are not performed by a licensed health professional. Next being need of using the same online pharmacy all the time. So if you do not use the same online pharmacy all the time, they may not be aware of any potential drug interactions. It can be difficult to find someone to answer any specific questions about medications you may have. It is not possible to get the prescription the same day, and you lose the personal interaction available in a person-to-person transaction. Now, the next one being a very important point, that is selling of scheduled drugs. Now, online selling of drugs possesses a serious risk of selling Schedule X and Schedule H medicines to the customers. Drugs which fall within these two schedules shall not be delivered to the customers without prescription and is a crime. Proper customer record needs to be maintained, including name of the patient, doctor, and address. A single prescription can be used for multiple delivery of drugs through different e-pharmacy websites. A proper regulatory framework is the need of the hour to deal with this complicated issue, as this may rise the percentage of drug abuse in India. Another important issue which needs proper regulation is the selling of drugs to minors. It will be very difficult to trace the authenticity of the prescription when it is uploaded in the websites for online purchase of the drugs. The next one being, there are some online pharmacies that do not adequately safeguard your health. By failing to require a prescription, you could take medication that is not appropriate for you. It could make you sick or even kill you. Some illegal online drug stores deal in dangerous, contaminated, and counterfeit or outdated drugs that can lead to dangerous drug interactions. The next one, another major point, that is some e-pharmacy websites do not adequately protect your personal and financial information. Data security and patient confidentiality are important concerns. Many sites do not secure customers' information post-purchase. Emails often contain encrypted links to customer information, and online transactions are inadequately protected. Such site vulnerabilities can lead to consumer fraud and inadequate data protection. It's important for pharmacy websites to publish their privacy policy, one that promises not to share your personal information with third parties. Online financial transactions should be secured through adequate use of encryption technology. The next one being cost disadvantages. So other limitations of e-pharmacy includes cost associated with use startup, maintenance, and transaction fees. Although large chain pharmacies are able to negotiate lower transaction fees, smaller chain and independent pharmacies pay more to utilize e-prescribing software. Additionally, not all community and mail order pharmacies have the ability to receive new prescriptions electronically. And the last one, but not least, barriers to adoption of e-commerce in India. So according to the Use of Internet and Mobile Association of India, urban India is fastly adopting e-commerce, online payments, and transactions through the net. Although the popularity of these services is growing rapidly, they are still very limited in spread and scope, especially in the rural India. In addition to that, the concept of e-pharmacy is still at a nascent stage. Consumers are expected to face different problems while placing orders online. These problems may be related to technology, operation processes, or government norms. Moving on to the next slide. So these are some of the past cases mentioned here. So now the Drugs Controller General of India, that is the DCGI, had directed all the states and union territories to prohibit the sale of medicines through unlicensed and online platforms as per the Delhi High Court order. CADE, that is the Confederation of All Indian Traders, said that it had strongly raised the issue of malpractices that are being conducted in the online pharmacy trade and alleged that the firms are conducting business practices in contravention of provisions of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. Rules concerning the interstate sale of drugs are not well established, and so there is a high possibility that drugs valid in one particular state may not be considered in another state. And a similar incident has already been registered in the Mumbai Food and Drug Administration. So that's all from my side. I hope I have answered your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pankuri. That was a very insightful presentation. And we'll move forward. My next question would be for Karuna. Karuna, I would like you to shed some light upon the scope of e-commerce in the pharma and healthcare industry for the upcoming 5 to 10 years.
Thank you so much, Gauri. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes.
So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, on my starting slide, I've included two pictures. Now, the first one represents the online pharmacy sector, a chemist, which is exposed to the e-commerce sector. And the second one is a cartoon or a comic strip rather, which talks about how didn't I warn you about buying medication from the internet? And this is prevalent because while we have discussed the merits and the scope of e-pharmacy, there is also the demerits of e-pharmacy. And combating all of that, let's take a look at what the e-pharmacy sector will look like in the next 5 to 10 years. So, the pandemic. What really happened in the pandemic? India has witnessed a large-scale e-commerce disruption over the past decade, with people buying everything online, from groceries to apparel. The trend has been more pronounced over the past year, with the pandemic necessitated lockdown and distancing, pushing people online for their day-to-day needs. E-pharmacy is one such tool that came into the fore of our fight against the pandemic. Indian e-pharmacies, which emerged around 2015, have disrupted the market and gained traction rapidly. Currently, there are close to 50 e-pharmacies in India, and estimates peg the market size in 2019 at 0.5 billion, approximately 2 to 3% of the total Indian pharmacy sales. Now, currently, if you look at the pie chart that is provided on the screen, you might think, oh my God, online pharmacies, I can't even see that. There's barely a strip available. But along with increasing customer adoption, there has been a secular rise in an investor interest in e-pharmacies. Pharmacy acquired diagnosis firm Thyrocare. This was the second big acquisition after MedLife by Pharmacy within a month. Online giant Amazon began doorstep delivery of drugs. Conglomerates like Tata and Reliance acquired 1mg and NetMeds respectively. And all these transactions took place despite the COVID-19 pandemic, despite online pharmacies not having such a big presence in India, despite Indians having a very specific consumer preference where all of us like to go to the pharmacy store, physically check the goods and then buy it. So then why? How has this shift been happening? As India went under lockdown, realizing the importance of e-pharmacies, the union and state governments took no time to classify them as an essential service. The government also took to promoting e-pharmacies and their associated services through the Arogya Setu Mitra portal on Arogya Setu app. These measures turned out to be greatly beneficial to all consumers and e-pharmacies alike. Collectively, the sector was able to achieve 2.5 into growth in households using their services, with the tally hitting 8.8 million households in June 20 itself. That was like the pandemic started in March, and June 20 was literally 3 months later. People are apprehensive about exposure while venturing outside for medicines and lab results and prefer online options, and the need at present is unbounded. Therefore, additionally, more than 45% of the new users onboarded were based out of non-metros. This is a very significant statistic, because even after the online restrictions were eased and offline stores were made accessible, the platforms continued to get a total of 30 to 40% increase in sales as compared to pre-lockdown figures. In the second wave, e-pharmacies reported a 22 to 65% increase in sales, and a demand for COVID medication like tocilizumab or favipiravir surged by a 5 into stance. A key takeaway from all of this is that e-pharmacies have demonstrably critical role to play as we continue to fight the virus. Traditional pharma retailing in India is a highly unorganized and fragmented, with close to 8.5 lakh unorganized retailers contributing to more than 90% of the sales. It is also really significant to note that the All India Chemist Association actually went to the Supreme Court and issued a rally against the online pharmacy sector, because they have lower margins and they can afford to sell these medicines at a higher discount rate. Obviously, the case is still going on, but this just proves that e-pharmacies have been taking over, and it's actually a bit of a concern. Now, the growth drivers that I have put on the screen, the unorganized nature, it counteracts with the e-pharmacy, which are extremely organized. There's a supply chain, there's a distributor network, which is already thought of. There's governmental support, as I mentioned. The value and convenience offered is tremendous, as it has been discussed by all my previous panelists, and the tremendous untapped potential of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which prove that, yeah, due to increased internet penetration, what has happened is everybody can access all of these sites. It's no longer that rural areas are completely cut off from the internet and the services that they provide. Therefore, e-pharmacies are the way to look forward. Moreover, e-pharmacies ensure safer drugs. A report by the WHO found that about 10.5% of the medicines sold in low and middle income countries, including India, are substandard and falsified. E-pharmacies ensure a genuine drug supply, sourcing it directly from manufacturers and licensed resellers. They improve access. Medical needs of rural India are undeserved due to limited access to pharmacies. With an ever-expanding logistic network propelled by e-commerce over the past decade, e-pharmacies have an edge over this. At the moment, e-pharmacies are catering to 20,000 plus PIN codes. Also, how many times has it happened that you have gone to a pharmacy and a certain drug isn't available? This is not the case with e-pharmacies. An average offline pharmacy is limited to 6,000 or 8,000 SKUs. But in contrast, the online pharmacy can cater to 50,000 SKUs at the same time, giving them a significant advantage. Powered by digital backend, analytics, AI, e-pharmacies can better manage their supply chain, ensuring a high fill rate of about 95% and avoiding stockouts common in traditional offline pharmacies. When we look at the challenges, obviously there are cyber threats and data security issues. There is impending legal framework, but the securing healthcare data of the patients is going to be a key priority. Recognizing this issue, the government is already working on a Personal Data Protection (PDP) Act and Digital Information Security in Healthcare Act. Different countries have enacted specific laws, and DISHA, as the act is coined, it aims to be the Indian counterpart of similar laws. The need for constant technological upgradation is greater being pushed. And as my fellow panelist Smith talked about drones and other AI methods, these are being taken care of by e-pharmacy platforms. Now, the lack of trust and the consumer preferences, that is also being taken care of, because that is no longer the case. Due to a prevalence of lifestyle diseases and the changing consumer preferences, specifically after the lockdown, where people were forced shut inside their house, so they had no other option but to order online. It is changing slowly and gradually. This change is coming about. And as we look at the scope for internet penetration, increasing investments, increasing medicine spending via our healthcare budget itself, these are all the factors that are being taken care of as we slowly evolve. Finally, I would like to introduce all of you to the Apollo loop. This is a case study and that I would like to take a look at. Now, everybody must have heard the name Apollo in some form or the other. There's Apollo hospitals, there's Apollo pharmacies, there's Apollo wellness, there's Apollo information center. You can get diagnostic services, specialized services, value-added services. What can you not get at an Apollo clinic project? Now, this is what I want to take a look at, because what has happened is Apollo Wellness was actually found in 2001. That is fairly earlier. Earlier, it was only in hospitals, and then there were pharmacies that were available. 24/7 pharmacies started evolving around 2005. And then you see Apollo gradually going into different sectors. Now, they not only do they provide you with online pharmacy stake, which is going to grow in the next 5 years as projected by different articles and consulting firms, they also provide you allied services like you get a doctor at home, you get a nurse at home, you get medical devices at home, you get diagnostic tests done at home, you get a physio at home. Also, there is Apollo Cradle, fertility, spectra, dialysis, pharmacy, clinic, dental clinic, sugar, diagnostics. What do you not get? Once a patient is there, he's completely taken care of. More than that, they have also poured into the medical tourism sector and the telecommunication sector, because you can see they also take care of the visa, ticket transfers, your local accommodations. Not only that, they take care of your sightseeing as well. They maintain communication throughout, and you get the best of the treatment at Apollo Hospital, because Apollo has developed and positioned itself in such a way that it is not only attractive to the consumers, but is also attractive to the physicians and the nurses who would want to work there, automatically increasing the brand value and the care that is offered. The speed of treatment is unsurmounted, and the customer doesn't lose any valuable time that may take, sometimes you go to the hospital and you lose a lot of time filling a lot of paperwork, finding out the correct insurance services and whatnot. This is not the case with Apollo. You're completely taken care of. It is a one-stop loop. You enter and you are completely taken care of. And this is where we are heading towards. I think the e-pharmacy sector is also going to get into this. 1mg and other platforms have already started offering diagnostic tests at home too. They have already started partnering with other diagnostic firms near your areas. And I think this is where the sector should be looking forward to in the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
So much, Karuna. That was wonderful. And that was a very wonderful holistic overview of the future of the e-pharmacy. Beautifully explained. Now, moving on, my next question would be for Shashank. I would like you to share your views on, does e-pharmacy work on the principle of patient centricity, and what limitations do you think that they have?
So now, first of all, we'll see what is actually patient centricity. When we talk about patient centricity, as Mr. Mitra explained before, like catering all the needs of the patient in all the perspective, like you see, whether it be the life insurance of the patient, or to connecting the patient to various specialty aspects, or checking the utilization review. We often miss out the utilization review. What is actually the utilization review? Checking all the drugs that patient has been consuming in his lifetime, checking the history of the patient, checking the demographics of the patient, and then prescribing a particular drug to the patient. Now, moving on ahead, what are the challenges of an e-pharmacy being patient-centric? There are certain consultation limitations. Like suppose if we consult a physician or a registered medical practitioner online, there are various limitations to it. The chance or the need of physical examination gets often missed out. That is very necessary when you visit a physician. You would also have seen that you are visiting a physician with a certain problem, and the physician analyzes a very different problem. Why? That is just because of the physical examination that gets missed out when we are having an online consultation. Now, next is missing communication between the patient and the pharmacist. This is a very important aspect which is also getting skipped out if we talk about purchasing medicines directly from the e-pharmacies. I'll give you a very common example about using the inhalers. There are various types of inhalers. The common one we know, that is the L-meter dose inhalers, that you just need to press the pump, take in the contents. People don't even know how to use it. Some patients are using it incorrectly, and their asthma or COPD is not getting help because of it. Another common example I'll give you about ENO. Many people do not know how to use ENO. Generally, what they do, they take a glass of water, they put the sachet in it, and they just sip it like cold drinks. That is not how ENO should be taken. Once you take a glass of water, you put the sachet of ENO, and you just need to directly ingest it, because that is working on the principle of effervescence, and that needs to be carried out in your stomach. So this all things has to be explained by the pharmacist to the patient, where I feel a communication gap develops if we talk about e-pharmacy. Now, next is the lack of infrastructure in the rural areas. Though the internet is penetrating into the villages, but people are very reluctant to shift to these forms of consultation and seeking medications online. Now, next is the concern for data piracy. Even the companies are claiming that their the patient data is getting private, everything is private, but still educating the common folk about it is a big concern. They still feel that their data is not safe. They still feel that whatever the video interviews they're giving to the physicians might get leaked, or it might hamper their self-esteem somehow. Now, next is inability to prevent self-medication. Now, self-medication is an important factor which is very common and rampant in India. Self-medication needs to be stopped at any cost, and I feel that sometimes e-pharmacy cannot stop self-medication. Like suppose if a patient is on some kind of antipsychotics or antidepressant medications, the person can present the same prescription at different uh, various sites, different e-pharmacy sites, and can obtain medications and can abuse those medications. So this is how we have to prevent self-medication. Common example is like antibiotics, rampant use of antibiotics for every condition. So these often lead to further antibiotic resistance. So this is how self-medication is a very malpractice continued, and that has to be stopped. Now next is the telemedication consultation should be limited to first aid, life-saving measures, counseling, and advice on referral. Not for every disease we can rely on e-pharmacies, but yes, they can be very helpful if we are in certain kind of emergencies. If a patient or any family member is experiencing any kind of emergency and needs to be managed immediately, in such conditions, we can refer these e-pharmacies for getting specialized support. Not for all the cases where there are chronic cases, we should adopt the physical as well as the digital model. Though in the pandemic, our hands were tied, we had to stick to the digital model. But post pandemic, it will be very beneficial and it will be more patient centric if we shift from the digital model to the physical as well as the digital model. Next, we'll move on to the limitations, what we feel in consulting online. We can consult the physician via video, audio, or text methods. If we consult via video, that solely depends on the quality of the bandwidth, which will not be there if we talk about the rural areas. So patient will not be able to explain his condition well to the physician in front of him. Now, the patient feels that their history gets leaked. This is a very common concern of the patient, that whatever the video consultation or whatever the signs and symptoms of his disease the patient is showing to the physician, that video might get leaked and the physical examination of course gets skipped. That is a very important factor. Like the physician cannot osculate the patient. The physician will not be able to check the heartbeat of the patient and to arrive at further conclusions. The physician will not be able to check the pallor of the skin, the color of the skin, which is also very important in prescribing medications. So all these are the factors that get skipped if we consult online. I'll give you a very relevant case that I had came across. Like there was a geriatric patient. The lady was 63 years old and she presented to the physician with complaints of just weakness. And if she would have consulted online or she would have just done self-medication, she would have just taken the multivitamins and continued her therapy. But when she came to the physician on osculating, on checking her heart rate, it was just 24 beats per minute. That is drastically low. And she was immediately shifted to the cardiac care unit where pacemaker was installed. So these are the limitations, and overseeing these situations can lead to a very fatal situation. Now, next mode of consultation is audio consultations. Though the patient is explaining all what he is experiencing on a call, but is the physician really able to interpret? There are certain non-verbal clues which are often identified by the physician in the physical presence, which get missed out. Now, the patient identification remains unclear, and there are chances of imposters representing the real patients. Like I just gave the example about using antipsychotics. There are these drugs which you use or you abuse, they can even lead to respiratory depression. So in such forms of consulting, some other person may mimic the original patient and may seek the drugs if it is via audio. And text mode of consultation, it is very difficult to establish rapport with the patient. The patient will be typing everything, he'll be getting the text support, but this is again very much non-reliable form of consulting with the physician. So I feel these all are the limitations about e-pharmacies being patient-centric. And again, I'll emphasize that we need to move ahead with the physical as well as the digital model. So I hope I was able to clear my point with you. Thank you, Gaurav.
So much, Shashank. Very, very valid points were mentioned by you. It was a very beautiful presentation.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Gauravi and the student panel, wonderfully done, presenting merits, demerits, scope, the way it is going forward. Awesome work by you all. Dear participants and audience member, you may be seeing 7 to 8 minutes of presentation here, but believe me, a lot of work has gone in creating these presentations, and the students have done wonderful job to give you a overall 360-degree picture of the talk of the town, that is e-pharmacies. We are receiving certain questions. We are receiving certain concerns from the pharmaceutical professionals about promoting e-pharmacies. We do not promote e-pharmacies. We, through this talk, just want to point out the way the dynamics is shaping up in this space. So please be here with us. If there are questions around those, we will answer it after the faculty panel discussion is over. Students, well done. We are very proud of you. Keep growing and stay with us. Vivek sir, your comments, and Saurav, your.
It was really a good presentation from all of you. Hats off, and hats off to the mentor also, Saurabh. I just have one question for Pankuri. Somewhere you mentioned about the e-pharmacist giving support or telling the patients about the drug interactions. Could you please elaborate on this a bit? Whether e-pharmacists really give this kind of guidance to the patient on the drug reactions? And when you're talking about the drug reactions, are you referring to the adverse reactions or the side effects?
Yes, sir, I'm referring to the adverse drug reactions that take place. So when you are switching to a new, like everyone is using that particular e-pharmacy website from where they'll order continuously. And if you're switching to a new website completely, so the trust and the conversation that was made between the website and the personal interaction that was being held at that website is completely new to the new website. So if you are ordering another medication, and if suppose that medication gives some adverse drug reactions or some drug interactions, so that the new e-pharmacy website might not know your history. And if they might not know your history, so it will result when you'll order those drugs, they won't provide any kind of feedback or any kind of text or any kind of information regarding the drug interactions or drug interactions that can take place. So that's what I meant while switching to a new website.
Sorry, I was not allowed to unmute. So extremely well done. One thing to say that when students come up with such type of presentation, so it is something like the industry is going to get good resources in future, in fact. So the knowledge, the clarity, and the quantum of work this all team has done, it's really absolutely well done. And during the New Year time, I also forced him to go ahead with the presentation, read some articles, and then come back. Absolutely great job done by the team. I'm very, very satisfied with it. Thank you, Swati. Thank you, team.